Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the climactic conclusion of my Christmas Carol Christmas special. In this episode, the two films I have been discussing will now be compared to each other. And so, without further ado, let us begin. In this corner, hailing from the year 1992, with a box office profit of $27 million, the felt family phenomenon, the Muppet Christmas Carol!
There he is, folks, one of the greatest contenders of his kind. He made a big splash in 1992, and he's lost nothing since. His approach is hardly traditional, but he's always been a crowd pleaser.
And in this corner, hailing from the year 2009, with a box office profit of $318 million, the high-tech holiday heartwarmer, A Christmas Carol!
The 2009 version steps into the ring and the crowd goes wild. He only got mixed reviews, but pound for pound, dollar for dollar, he's got to be one of the most profitable films of his kind. Despite the crowd's excitement, there is an undeniable air of controversy around tonight's match. Claims of fight fixing have been circulating since both these contenders work for the same company. But between us, I think we are in for a serious matchup.
Tonight, these two contenders will face off in analytical comparison. So, reviewers and viewers, hecklers and critics, let's get ready to grumble! Well, let me start by pointing out that it's not a straightforward affair comparing these two films, because they each take a very different approach. One maintains a great deal of loyalty to the source material, the other is aimed at a younger audience and inserts music and comedy. So let's compare some of the more particular scenes and see who does what with each. Now, the Disney version was loyal to the book, meaning that Scrooge was left alone at boarding school every year. I suspect this may be part of the reason he just dislikes the holiday. And then his little sister Fan comes in to bring him home. I believe the point of this scene was to awaken memories within Scrooge that he hadn't thought about in a long time. Memories about kind and loving moments.
Ebenezer! Ebenezer! Dear brother, I've come to bring you home!
Home, little Fan?
Yes, home! Father is so much kinder than he used to be. He spoke so gently to me one night. I was not afraid to ask him if you might come home. And he said yes. And he sent me in a coach to fetch you. And we're to be together all the Christmas long. And have the merriest time in all the world.
You're quite a woman, little Fan. He had a large heart.
For some reason, the Muppet version cut out little Fan altogether.
Last coach is sleeping. Come on, he never goes home for Christmas. Who cares about stupid
Well, young man, you have been apprenticed to a fine company in London. Today, you become a man of business.
I'm looking forward to it, Headmaster.
You will love business. It is the American way.
Sam. It's just
Oh, it is the British way.
good.
Yes, Headmaster.
I don't really understand why. Perhaps they simply wanted a more straightforward progression from this bit to Fezziwig's. Speaking of which...
Tell me, Ebenezer Scrooge, do you know this place?
Know it! I was an apprentice here.
Again, one is loyal to the book, the other does their own fun thing. Frankly, I think both films may have missed the mark this time. Fezziwig has brought great happiness to all his workers, and they hold him in great esteem, despite the fact he only spent a few pounds on the party. Nothing to him. I believe the point is to show Scrooge that you can be merry without being wasteful, and to remind him that employers hold their workers' well-being in their hands. Frankly, I don't see that in either film.
Another idol has replaced me.
Another idol. What idol?
A golden one.
Each film has a different take on this scene, in which it has become clear that Scrooge has put the pursuit of wealth over the woman he loves. In the book, he just lets Belle walk out of his office and his life. The Muppet version is much softer. Scrooge is still diligently pursuing financial security, but it's only to make sure there is a solid foundation for their future. A little disloyal to the book and the character of Scrooge.
Another year before our wedding, Ebenezer.
But it can't be helped, Belle. How could we marry now? There's not even enough for a decent home. The investments haven't grown as they should.
So you said last year?
Business continues to be poor.
You're a partner in your own firm now.
Barely clearing expenses.
You said the partnership was the goal.
This is for you. I love you, Belle.
You did once.
The Disney version, however, leans in the other direction and adds a little of its own.
There is nothing on this earth more terrifying to me than a life doomed to poverty. May I ask, why do you condemn with such severity the honest pursuit of substance?
What Scrooge just said is not in the book, but it's still very telling about his character and how he thinks.
Our contract is an old one. It was made when we were both poor and content to be so. When it was made, you were another man.
I was a fool!
I release you, Ebenezer.
Have I ever sought release?
Scrooge is more harsh and even aggressive than either the Muppet version or even the book. And it's a little uncomfortable to watch, but on the other hand, I suppose it makes it all the more meaningful to Scrooge to see how he treated the woman he once loved.
But if you were free today, would you choose a dowerless girl? A girl left penniless by the death of her parents? You, who weighs everything by gain.
Now in the book, there is no mention of Belle being left penniless. But again, it's very telling about Scrooge's character.
Come in! Come in and know me better, man.
Come in and know me better, man. Did I already say that?
You did, yeah.
I am the ghost of Christmas present.
Each one has done a stirring job of presenting the ghost of Christmas present. But there are differences, each with their own good and bad points. The Muppet's ghost is wholeheartedly jolly throughout.
This is the night before the dawn, before the day of Christmas. Did I tell you that I am the ghost of Christmas present?
You did, yeah.
Come in and know me better, man.
You're a little absent-minded spirit.
No, I'm a large absent-minded spirit.
The Disney ghost starts out that way as well.
I am the ghost of Christmas present. Look upon me.
But before long, we are shown his disdain for Scrooge. This is actually more loyal to the book than the Muppet version. However, looking at the original text, it's hard to tell whether the ghost feels disdain for Scrooge or just despairs at him. Either way, he disapproves of how Scrooge is so willing to ignore the poor and needy. In the Disney version, the ghost clearly makes no secret of his disapproval and seeks to confront Scrooge with the people he ignored. This is definitely loyal to the book, and would no doubt go a long way in showing Scrooge the error of his ways. However, I feel the filmmakers went a little overboard.
Look here. Oh, man, look here.
You daft old geezer!
Look. Look! Down here!
That's pretty aggressive for someone who's supposed to be the embodiment of goodwill. The Muppet version, however, is much more likeable. He remains warm and cuddly throughout, and that's all well and good, but we have to ask ourselves, would that really convince Scrooge to change his ways? A large part of this is teaching Scrooge the value of Christmas. The Muppet production seems to skate around more the unpleasant parts, including leaving out the two spirit children and the iconic moment when the ghost repeats Scrooge's own words, "Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses?" When it comes to the death scene, however, I believe the Muppet version is far superior. No question about it.
Go forth and know him better, man.
This scene always upset me when I was little, and I would fast forward through the whole thing. But at least he went out peacefully, unlike the Disney version. That's way over the top, don't you think? If it was like that in the book, it would still be morbid, but at least Disney would have had an excuse. As it stands, they do not. I found this edition to be disturbing, shocking, gruesome, and completely unnecessary.
Come along, son. Let's go see if Christmas dinner is ready yet.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's cold out there.
Hello, Father. Hello, Timmy.
Tiny Tim has always had a very small part in this story, but an emotionally powerful one. Though he is crippled by some unnamed illness, his hopefulness and selflessness are evident.
How was the church?
Oh, as good as gold and better.
Somehow he gets thoughtful sitting by himself so much, and he thinks the strangest things you ever heard. He told me coming home that he hoped the people saw him in church because he was a cripple, and it might make pleasant for them to remember upon Christmas Day.
Oh, may lame beggars walk and blind men see.
A remarkable child.
Scrooge refers to Tiny Tim as a remarkable child. I think the Muppets did a little something that made him seem even more remarkable. In the book, Bob Cratchit, the man who suffers at Scrooge's hands more than anyone else, proposes a toast to Mr. Scrooge in honour of Christmas. This goes to show how much goodwill Bob Cratchit has, that he can find enough warmth in his heart even for the likes of Scrooge. In the Disney version, the Cratchit family reacts exactly as they did in the book.
Founder of the feast, indeed. I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon, and I'd hope he'd have a good appetite for it.
My dear, you children, it's Christmas Day.
Christmas Day, I'm sure. How can one drink the health of such an odious, stingy, hard, unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge? As you know he is, Robert. Nobody knows it better than you.
My dear, Christmas Day.
I'll drink his health for your sake, and the day's not for his.
Tiny Tim drank it last of all, but he didn't care twopence for it. Scrooge was the ogre of the family.
The Muppet version, however, is different.
Well, I suppose that on the blessed day of Christmas, one must drink to the health of Mr. Scrooge, even though he is odious, stingy, wicked, and unfeeling, and badly dressed.
To the founder of the feast, Mr. Scrooge.
That wasn't in the book, but it always moved me. It made Tiny Tim seem even more remarkable because he shares his father's altruistic attitude. Now for the graveyard scene, one of the most iconic and pivotal moments in the story. While the Disney version is definitely more dramatic, I find the Muppet version more powerful. Take a look.
Are these the shadows of things that will be, or shadows of things that may be? Men's causes in life foreshadow certain ends. But if these causes are departed from, these ends will change, isn't that so? No!
In the book, this is the moment when Scrooge becomes determined to change his ways and pleads with the ghost to let him know whether or not the future can be altered. In the Muppet version, there is no danger. Scrooge is just standing in the graveyard. In the Disney version, however, the grave itself threatens to engulf Scrooge. I imagine they thought it would improve the scene to add that, but frankly, I think it weakens it. In the Disney version, Scrooge does indeed pour out his regret, but because he appears to be in danger of falling into the grave, it gives me the impression that he might be just saying that so the ghost will rescue him.
Good Spirit, help me! Spirit! Help me, Spirit! Help, Spirit! Spirit, I I will honor Christmas in my heart, and try to keep it on the air. I will not shut out the lessons of the past, nor present, nor future. Oh, pray, Spirit, tell me I may sponge away the writing on that stone.
In the Muppet version, I feel it is the absence of any kind of threat that makes this scene so meaningful. Scrooge is shown what the future will be if he doesn't change his ways. He becomes determined to do so, but not under any kind of duress. The ghost is not saying, "Change your ways or suffer my wrath." Actually, he's not saying anything at all. No one is making Scrooge do anything. He is simply shown the future and he makes his own choice.
Oh, please, Spirit, no. Hear me, I'm not the man I was. Why would you show me this if I was past all hope? I will honor Christmas and try to keep it all the year. I will live my life in the past, the present, and the future. I will not shut out the lessons the spirits have taught me. Tell me that I may sponge out the writing on this stone. Oh, Spirit, please speak to me.
And because he is not under any kind of threat, we know that this choice is genuine. He truly wants to change for the better. In that respect, I believe the Muppets did a far better job with this scene. He is not the Grim Reaper, you Disney dimwits. In conclusion, I think both of these films are truly great renditions of the story, both with their good and bad features. One sometimes seems like it's sugarcoating itself for the sake of the audience, but on the other hand, it makes the story fun and accessible to children without dumbing it down. The second one goes to the other extreme, with some nightmarish moments that seem out of character even for itself, but somehow it shows imagination and originality while at the same time being unbelievably loyal to the text. In my opinion, these are without doubt the two best Christmas Carol films ever made. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes my seasonal soiree. I do hope you have found it diverting, interesting, even enlightening. Now, I'm no churchgoer, but I can't help but end my Christmas Carol Christmas special like this. As Tiny Tim observed,
God bless us.
God bless us.
God bless us, everyone!